So a while back, it was announced that the Blue Beetle film, which was going to be an HBO Max film, is instead going to get a theatrical release. Which is kind of surprising. I thought, well, wouldn't they have said that about the Batgirl film? But so far, they are. That's still going to be HBO Max, and that's it as far as I know. So it was a brief little announcement. It's like, oh, they're going to go for the theatrical release. So, and that'll be in 2023. And so there you go. So, all about it is so far the promotion of Blue Beetle is one of these where it's not about Blue Beetle at all. They make a big deal about the young actor, Zolo Midridwena. I can't say it. I'm sorry. I'm stupid about that. So Zolo, we'll say Zolo. We'll be playing Jaime Reyes, which is the third Blue Beetle. Now, a lot of this, you come into it, this is actually one of the better choices for this sort of thing, because that's very much in keeping with the story. Now, granted, why did they make a third Blue Beetle? Because they said, hey, we don't have enough Latinos in our superhero lineup or what have you. They did. They just forgot about them and didn't do anything with them. So, but with Blue Beetle, you'd already had it established that this has already been a legacy character. Ted Kord was the most popular version. The original was Dan Garrett, who went through a couple of changes. I think he always had some sort of superpowers. I think he was just strong at first, and I think he always flew or something like that. They tried different things, and he passed through different publishing houses, ended up at Carlton. And then eventually Steve Ditko came in and revamped it, and Dan Garrett died trying to save Ted Kord. Not trying, he does, but the scarab that gave him his powers seemed to be lost, and so Ted Kord had promised he would carry on his work, which he does, but he uses his inventive abilities. He makes the flying bug, and gadgets and stuff. He was basically a cross between Batman and Spider-Man, and of course with Steve Ditko drawing him, he looks like Peter Parker and in a suit that's kind of like Spider-Man's and all that stuff, but he just doesn't have any powers, so he relies on gadgets and his cool little bugmobile that flies around and all of that stuff, which went on to inspire the Watchman Night Owl character and all that. So and for the most part, he had much a longer lasting, if you will, through Carlton Publications, which struggled along and eventually was bought by DC, and then the Ted Kord version was brought into the DC universe and eventually gained probably the most popularity that he got through being a sort of the Beavis and Butthead of the superheroes alongside Booster Gold in Justice League, and that's pretty much was the pinnacle of Ted Kord's Blue Beetle. He was always around. Eventually they killed him off, but then magically he's back as the universe gets warped or whatever. But eventually they moved on. They dropped him altogether and went with this new Blue Beetle. Now, there was a plan for Tim Drake to leave being Robin and become the third Blue Beetle, but they abandoned that and for a new character of Jaime Reyes, so that they could have a Latino character be the new Blue Beetle. So that's what they did, and since then, that's who's been Blue Beetle. This won't be his first appearance on other media. He did briefly appear in Smallville alongside Booster Gold, with a Days of Our Lives actor playing Booster Gold. And they had been chasing a Blue Beetle film and or TV series for quite a while. There's some test footage they did of Blue Beetle taking off and leaping out his window and stuff. And he's another character that's one of these that I call chasing Peter Parker. There's been quite a few of those that they do, and that's kind of what you have here. But that's more in fitting. It's more credible in its narratives. And people who miss Ted Kord, well, I miss Ted Kord, because I don't think he'll be coming back. I mean maybe an alternate universe where the Carlton. I always thought that would be a cool thing, where they're kind of like the Watchmen, but it's all the Carlton characters, and that sort of thing. But as far as mainstream stuff going forward, I think it's just always going to be Jaime Reyes. So certainly when they do a movie, whether there'll be any mention to the previous Blue Beetles within that, perhaps, because it is fitting. They went further into the backstory of what the Scarab was and is and all that, and involved it with the Green Lanterns and all that sort of stuff. So it's very much removed from its original beginnings, because there was no Green Lantern in Carlton, and all that. So perhaps they'll do that and I'm assuming he's going to be a DCEU character, so they'll connect that. Eventually there's supposed to be a new Green Lantern film, and maybe they'll cross over at some point or something like that. But anyway, that's what they're going to do, and he'll be in theaters. He'll get a theatrical release and all that stuff. But in the initial promotion for this this is the actor. He's all excited about doing this. And I'm going to be the first Latino superhero and all that. Okay, that's what he does. The director went on about, says it's going to be inspired by the likes of Akira, Drive, and Pacific Rim. And I don't know if he means just in the atmospherics and style, because I don't know, it's not a lot of elements there for the Blue Beetle story. I guess somewhat here and there, I guess, but I guess thinking like in robotics with Pacific Rim and stuff. But anyway, that's what. But then the rest of it, he goes, and this is for Latino characters to come in further representation, and made note of Leslie Grace and Sasha Calle being Supergirl and Leslie Grace being Batgirl. Well, all right. Now, Blue Beetle is the best of the three in that it's a more organic, credible narrative of the comic books where this happened, whereas Supergirl's an alien, so she's never going to be a Latina. I don't care who plays the part. And Batgirl, there's nothing in the stories about her being Latina or any of that. It's not a whole big deal in it for Leslie Grace to play it. The word is that she wowed the directors or what have you, and they said, well, she's the girl for the role and all that, and that's what they did. It stretches some amount of credulity because this keeps happening over and over again to say it's that, but okay. And J.K. Simmons will be her father and all that stuff, but of course, from all the Batman comics I've read and stuff, I never heard much about Gordon's wife and the mother of Barbara Gordon. It was always just Barbara Gordon and Jim Gordon, So, who's to say he wasn't married to a Latina, So okay, well, so, but the thing about that is not so much the casting as it is the constant emphasis on representation, which for the most part, it has become nothing but superficial and an insult to all involved. So when they do that as just, this is the big deal about this film, I thought this was going to be a Batgirl film. Supergirl is going to be Supergirl. Now she's in sort of guest starring in the Flash film, but I imagine they probably have thoughts and plans for a Supergirl either feature or series or something. I don't know, and that sort of thing. And Blue Beetle, the same thing. Even though I think Blue Beetle is the better iteration here of these examples, because he's got quite a long history now. Not that long, but it fits in with the legacy narrative of Blue Beetles in the superhero comics. But still, what's the big emphasis is on the race of the character and the actor or the ethnicity or what have you, and rather than Blue Beetle himself. Most people don't know anything about Blue Beetle, and you would think you would want to be promoting that. Now, it's a ways away before you actually get, even like still images or teasers and whatnot, but that's what it should emphasize. And same thing with Batgirl, same thing with Supergirl, and so on and so forth. Batgirl needs to be promoted as Batgirl and nothing more. Same, and certainly Blue Beetle should do that. It is, I'm sure there's a lot of kids and stuff and younger people who aren't familiar with it would be kind of thinking it's cool about the suit he has and all the weird stuff he can do and the different powers and whatnot. And it probably win them over. So the emphasis of these superhero characters in their stories should be the emphasis. Certainly in promoting them, not the skin and genitals of the people involved in it. And every time that happens, it becomes this big red flag of this superficial shield is being used as cover for a lackluster, lazy work. Sometimes it's just the marketing itself, which betrays the end result film, and it's not that bad, but it's just not that great of a narrative, and it's not that great of an objective within characters, and certainly characters that are decades old and that sort of thing. But there's plenty around. Diversity in comic book characters is also decades old, and more times than not, it's always a red flag. It doesn't mean that the Batgirl and the Blue Beetle film will be bad. They might be pretty good, but this immediate approach, which is, I guess, just an element of the comic era we're in, of exploiting skin and genitals above all else, I think is damaging to the property. So hopefully they'll stick to more of just what is this character you're trying to do. Why did you want to do Batgirl? Why did you want to do Blue Beetle? I would have thought it would have something to do with the comic book stories that made this character. Then that's what you should be looking more at than anything else. So anyway, best of luck to the Blue Beetle. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness, so many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.